Welcome to Venture with Joe and Cody, where we take a deep dive into the minds of leaders and innovators making a real impact today. I'm Joe.
And I'm Cody. And we're here to bring you the raw stories, the successes, and the setbacks that these trailblazers have experienced in their journey to where they are today.
Every week, we sit down with a new guest who's ready to share their insight and advice on business, entrepreneurship, and making a difference in their community. From local community members to industry experts, you're going to get the unfiltered truth behind their success.
So whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur, a seasoned professional, or just curious about the business world, join us for a journey of learning and inspiration.
So let's grab a drink, settle in, and let's get started. This is Venture with Joe and Cody. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Venture with Joe and Cody. I'm Joe Skipper with Skipper Realty Group, brokered by eXp Realty, and there's Cody Wilhelm over there in the beautiful, is it salmon shirt or pink shirt? Or
yeah,
red
we're going to
shirt?
call it salmon.
And Cody with a residential mortgage. How's it going, my man?
Doing pretty good.
Good.
Loving. We're in spring right now. Like
yes,
it is official spring.
I think so.
One day hot, one day rainy.
And the 10-day kind of forecast is like, it's looking like it's kind of normally spring. So that's good, at least.
I'm down.
Yes.
I need
I had like a really quick flashback from before we get started. I just want to say Cody and I are going to talk about some pretty big business stuff going on in the real estate world, some big acquisitions by large companies, including my brokerage, eXp Realty, and kind of what that's going to do for the real estate world, mom and pop brokerages. And then if we have some time, we're going to get into, we have some first-time home buyers that have lately come into the market, which I think is personally rare. But they're coming in, and so that's a good sign. And just kind of a reminder for first-time home buyers of what to do in this market and how to go about it in the best way. Because there's lots of changes that have been going on, and if you haven't ever done it, you don't even know the old stuff versus the new stuff. So that might be a good thing, actually. But I had a little flashback as that we were counting down to come on this recording. And I was thinking of you and I almost as little kids, like, you know, our first time doing this and how nervous we were and how kind of it was just like, you know, like, what do we talk about?
What do we say?
Yeah, it's crazy. I just had a quick, like, you know, you and I, because we sat more silent. Normally we talk right up to the point and we're like, oh, okay, we're back. But this time we sat there for like 2 seconds silent, and I was like, that was like the old days. Like,
right?
We were like, okay.
Mentally preparing.
What's going on for the thousands of people that are watching like live?
Yes.
You know, we don't want to make any mistakes, but we learned that it's not 1,000 people watching. So.
No, and I think that we've also learned too that it's just half of what, maybe more than half, is just us genuinely having conversations.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
like we have topics that we like to try to go over and work with, but a lot of it is just, I mean, it's just you and I having a conversation. Like there's times where, and I think that's what kind of makes it kind of cool in a way. Like I know we've talked about doing it more in person stuff, but like doing it just the way that we've been doing it, it really doesn't, it feels like you and I are just having a video chat on topic. So it's kind of funny how at first I think it was like, oh man, we're recording and this, I want to make sure I say the right thing. And then now anymore, I'm like, I'm just hanging out with Joe.
I think people appreciate the honesty too, of like, just like saying what you think. And, you know, we're getting more and more like that. You always kind of tiptoe around that a little bit. And you know, last week I wasn't in a great mood, so I went on rants about agents working 8 to 5. But I could still go on a rant about that. It wasn't just because I was in a bad mood.
It just stoked the fire. That's all.
Yeah. No, I just think that I hope that people get some value out of it. If you want to hear anything in particular, feel free to leave Cody and I a comment. Or message us and tell us what you want to talk about. But until then, we just talk about what we want, which
that's right.
I think it's big news in the industry. I think we all get numb in the industry about kind of what's going on. But real estate companies are acquiring other real estate companies like crazy. They're acquiring AI tech. They're acquiring like all sorts of things. And I think there's many reasons behind it. But like, for example, a couple of things that have happened recently is Compass bought Anywhere Real Estate. So I know that maybe people that don't follow Compass or Anywhere Real Estate maybe are not, you know, you're like, okay, who's Anywhere Real Estate? But Anywhere, the brands that Anywhere Real Estate owns is Coldwell Banker, Century 21, Cascade Sotheby's. So Compass has absorbed all of these into their larger business. Huge deal.
Wow.
EXP just bought NextHome. NextHome, everyone's like, okay, what's NextHome? They don't are a massive traditional franchise company with over 500 locations. What's bigger about that acquisition is that all these places are owned by other places. So ultimately, NextHome is owned by an affiliate company with Google. So it's a big move for EXP because we're already talking about as our company going into having our listings on Google searches. So yeah, it's crazy. Like, I think when I stepped back and we were planning for this podcast, I kind of was like, okay, this is a big deal. You hear it all the time. You're like, okay, big companies are, buying out smaller companies, but
yeah,
it's a big deal. And I think with AI and tech and all that stuff, the only ones that are able to do this stuff and buy the tech and stay up with the tech are these larger companies. So we're going to see the real estate world change pretty significantly over the next 5-10 years of kind of what a brokerage looks like. What's your initial thoughts on it, or any questions you have about it?
Well, my initial thought is I always wonder with these big acquisitions if it makes more sense to keep the brands out there.
Yeah.
Like like you were explaining the Cascade Sotheby's, so what was it, Century 21, John L. Scott, some of those.
Yeah.
Like, they're owned by another company and they keep those names, and now they get bought by another company. Do they just try, like, does Compass try to make it all of these locations and all of these, everything is just Compass now to try to grow that brand? Or do they try to keep, like, that's where from the business side, I always wonder, like, what does make more sense? Are some of those, do they look at some of those and go, oh, those are older brands, let's kind of purge it and let's make it all of these locations Compass now, to just show like we're a big top player in this. Because it's, like everything, those, like we were talking about earlier on our live, Fry's, the store, that was a huge brand at the time, and then they just go out, like Circuit City, Best Buy, a lot of these things that were like Blockbuster, you just think that they're never going to go away, and then they do. And I wonder if that will happen on the same thing on the real estate side, because there's, some of these, what I call older, just meaning that they've been around for such a long time.
Yeah.
Do they get flushed out with some of these bigger, newer brands where people might not have heard of them, but they're now growing, and now that's one of the top places to be. EXP doing this, carrying a big brand with it.
Yeah, and I would say, like, from what I've looked at, the short answer is no, that they're not planning on changing the names. These names, especially as and why you're bringing it up, is in the real estate world, these names mean something. The Sotheby's, the Century 21, all those things mean something to a certain amount of people, and so to just completely obliterate the brand, I don't think is in the short term for these companies. It's more of acquisition of agents, acquisition of technology, acquisition of, because you take over Sotheby's, you've taken over thousands upon thousands of agents and brought them into your company and into your fold, which makes you more money, which makes you have the better ability to have technology, AI, and provide your agents and not direct or indirectly your clients like a better product. So I think it's overall good. EXP has always been, and the reason I joined it was a very agent centric. I wanted to have a brand. I wanted to have the brand, and I didn't want a bigger broker having to put a bigger brokerage necessarily on my stuff. And EXP has always been that agent, like, hey, we want you to build your brand. We want to give you the resources to build the brand that you want. So I don't see EXP doing anything crazy with that. That's always been agent centric with that. But long term, like you said, things change as people stop caring necessarily about it, especially as you slowly integrate that marketing to where people start to get comfortable with different names. But right now those names are big. Those are hard to give up. So right now Compass and EXP are not changing anything. I think you're going to see the technology, the agents. I hope the agents be better, better trained, better resources, better resources for clients, and just a better product that they put out for clients. So that's my personal thought. I worry about the boutique brokerages. Like, if you want to be a boutique brokerage and stay small, then I think you're fine. I think if you're a boutique brokerage and you want to get large and grow, I think that's where you're going to have to battle these companies that are like, agents are going to say, what do you offer me that's better than EXP
Sure.
that's giving me all of this training and AI resources and AI training and, all the, the liabilities that everything goes with these large companies. So it'll be interesting how these boutique brokerages fare,
Yeah.
I,
I go ahead.
Yeah, I guess I'm just saying, like, my final thought is kind of like, I want them to be fine. I do want them to succeed. I think it is good to have that because I think there is a niche of people that want that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess I'm thinking out loud. Like, we like to think of ourselves almost like you know, almost like a boutique brokerage with the resources of a large international company. We
Mm-hmm.
like to, because we don't have agents specifically and purposefully, we don't have agents that represent our clients besides Christina or I. We
Mm-hmm.
think that people, and you and I have talked about this, people don't care where you're with. They
Yeah.
they want to work with you.
Right.
And so we've had a hard time, and we still struggle with this, and we will struggle with this in the future of having buyer's agents or having listing
Mm.
agents that, your friend comes in or you come and say, Joe, I want to list a house with you. And I'm like, well, here's Billy Bob. Like, you can work with
Right.
him, I just,
Uh-huh.
I struggle with that. So I like the
Yeah.
boutique brokerage that wants to give their clients a more intimate setting, to
Yeah.
sell. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know how the industry is going to go.
Well, and that's always hard too, because you're selling yourself.
Yeah.
So when you're selling yourself and then you pass that person off to somebody else,
Yeah.
it's like you're just selling your name and your brand. And I think that, going back to those companies that we were talking about, some of those older ones, or I associate with older ones, because I remember, like, as a kid, Century 21, you see commercials on TV, or it was just like some of those brands that you just kind of grew up with. Um, and I think that there was a time, just like with everything else, where being with those brands was a big deal. And that was like, oh, that's a big
Yeah.
name. I want to work
Yep.
with a big
For
firm that
sure.
has all
For sure.
these resources and money and everything to help me sell my house. And now I just don't feel like that's the case. And maybe it's still viewed that way to some
Yeah.
people. Like, oh, I want to go with the big name place because they're well known and my house is going to sell more because it's listed by this brand.
Yep.
But I don't
Yep.
know that
Absolutely.
really matters anymore.
Yeah, I think there is to a certain extent. But you're right. I think that the majority of people don't care, just from what
Yeah.
I know. But there are, Cascade Sotheby's is a high end brand, like it just
Mm-hmm.
is. And so you do see a lot more, and maybe that's not necessarily the brand. Maybe that's the agents that got into it. Like it's
Sure.
which is it? Like, is it the brand or is it the agents that built a career under that brand and now it's the
Uh-huh.
agent? People are like, I still
Sure.
don't care about Cascade Sotheby's, but because
Uh-huh.
you worked high end listings, that I want
Right.
to work with
You must be
Kathy
good at
with
this. And
Cascade Sotheby's. So,
uh-huh.
and I had a buddy that worked there, and I think that this goes to like kind of the corporate thing and all that stuff is agents see what we're talking about is there's less and less importance to the agent, especially if you're an agent that has been on a few years, you've made it through that kind of statistic that basically all of us fail after the first 3 years, and you've made it and you've established yourself in the industry, you've established yourself with referrals and things like that. You start to see agents say, what does the company offer me? And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's part of why these companies are buying out other companies is because they're saying we have to be able to provide our agents with a significant amount of resources or they're just going to go hop to the next one. And
Yeah.
that's what I saw when I first started is you saw agents regularly and lenders were the same. Like
Uh-huh.
you went from like a real estate company, you're like, oh, they're offering me this. And then you get a little more experience. You're like, oh, they're offering me this. And you just
Uh-huh.
kept hopping to these little almost boutique brokerages or even big ones, but
Yeah.
you're always searching for someone who's going to provide more. So, I think what I think these companies are doing, and I think it's good, is basically saying we need to be the company that provides the agents the best resources in order for them to stay like with us,
Sure.
because there's just so much hopping around right now in the industry. Maybe not as much. I kind of stay out of that. I'm pretty committed to EXP, and it's not just because EXP is the best necessarily. It's I love it, but some people would hate it. But
Sure.
I just don't want to jump around. But I
Yeah.
don't think that's based on, if I move to this company, I'll be better. Like,
Uh-huh.
like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know where
Well,
I'm going with this.
I
But
mean,
you
I
can
see it.
speak to the lender side of things for sure.
Yeah, I see it on the mortgage side quite a bit. And it probably feels like it's often because I'm not paying attention to other people's timelines on where they're at, but it's like I'll see oh, this person moved again. Oh, this
Yeah.
person moved
Yeah.
again. And then you're just like I've always wondered because I've never liked change. Like the first few years of my mortgage career, I was at, let's see, I think it was the first 4 years, I was at 4 different companies. And I did not like that in any
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
My situation was a little unique in the sense that I got on with one company, and then the buddy of mine that got me into the business wanted to partner up, and they didn't have like a compensation structure to do kind of a
Yeah.
team
Yeah.
thing. So we went to a different place. And then after like 3 months, there was this big rumor that they were going to shut down. So then we left and went to a different place. So it was like within the first year, I was at 3 different companies and I still had no clue what I was doing. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
and then after that, it's like I spent 7 years at the next place and had no plans of moving. But the market shifted things and it kind of forced certain changes. But I will say that I do. There's one thing that I notice about people that change a lot on the mortgage side. I think what happens with some is they have an experience that's a bad experience of some kind, right? It's
Yeah.
like a file went bad, and it's like some people just want and need to blame the company. And I
Yeah.
think that they
Oh,
get to a point where
absolutely.
it's like you have a couple bad transactions and you've blamed the company
Absolutely.
enough. And now you're like, well, I've thrown the company over under the bus enough. I have to leave,
Yeah.
rather than like taking ownership of it or
For
just,
sure.
whatever that looks like. But I think that there becomes this common theme that if I go to this next place, it's going to be different because they do all these things
Yeah.
different. And it's like, especially on the mortgage side, there's little variations of things, but it's all the same guidelines. It's not like you can
Yeah.
go to this next place and do all the weird loans that nobody
Yeah.
else
For
can
sure.
do, and you
For
don't
sure.
have any resistance with underwriting and all that. So
For
I think
sure.
there just becomes a point where like I'm getting I'm I'm running into too many barriers, so I'm going to go to the next place to
Yeah.
then find out after a year or two I'm running into all these barriers and I need to go to the next place.
For
And
sure.
and I know it always feels like the grass is greener at the next place, but I don't like it. I'm kind of like where what you said about EXP. It's like it might not be the greatest place, but you're happy there.
Yeah.
You feel supported. You taken care of.
And
That's
it
how
gives you the
I.
resources that you can serve your clients well. Like,
Yep.
it's not, could you get another product with someone else, or could you get,
Yeah.
but overall, like, are you losing business because of it? Like,
Sure.
that would be the ultimate determining factor is like,
Yeah.
are you losing business because you can't, succeed in that industry, or are you,
Yeah.
or is it yourself? Like,
Sure.
and I think with lending, I would say it's interesting because you're seeing the real estate world go big corporate, like
Hmm.
your big corporations are picking things up, and I don't see a ton of change in the negative for that.
Yeah.
But in the lending world, and this is my personal opinion, so don't get Cody in trouble, is large banks, I think, are sometimes detrimental to the
Hmm.
client
Yeah.
because of so much bureaucracy and red tape and whatever. And not to say that you guys don't have to go through the same thing, because you're not
Sure.
just lending money, writing a check to someone. Cody doesn't have to talk to anyone about it. It's
Yeah.
just there's a little more wiggle room in a smaller brokerage or a smaller lending institution or a
Hmm.
credit union or whatever than these big banks, where it feels like the opposite in the real estate world. And I'm just thinking about this right now, so stay with me as I unload this. But
Yeah.
it is interesting because for real estate agents, I think that the more money, the more resources that you have, the more tech, the more class work, the more trainings, that's better for you. Whereas I
Hmm.
think in the real estate world, they do offer a lot of freedom to the agents.
Yeah.
There's a larger gap of freedom, and so what these brokerages do versus lending is like brokerages are there to provide the agent as much as they can so that the agent can go do what they do and sell and buy
Yeah.
homes. Whereas like the lending world, obviously you're dealing with a ton more money as you get up to these big banks, which then makes
Hmm.
them more restrictive of what goes on with it. It's just
Yeah.
like completely the opposite. It feels
Yeah.
like in certain ways with lending.
Totally. Yeah.
So
And I think that you see that because a lot of these places, and I'm not going to generalize, but I guess I am at the same time. The big banks, certain places that are a little more restrictive, they have
Yeah.
their own overlays over top of what the like Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac,
Yeah.
FHA
What their
guidelines
guidelines
right?
are. They take it a step more.
Yes. So like for example, FHA, you can go up into the mid 50s for your debt to income. Whatever you're getting an
Yeah.
approval on, you can do, right? And some of these banks might say, "We see that, but we're not going to approve a loan. We're not going to close a loan that is over 50%."
Yeah.
So that's where you do get some of these variations and some of these tweaks. And it's like, well, this bank told me I can only get approved here. And
Yeah.
most of the time it's like, okay, well, if we both did a good job of qualifying them, then the numbers should be the same. But if you run into some of these places that have these overlays, it could be the difference in, yeah, I can get you approved for more.
For sure.
Or they have a cap at a certain credit threshold. And
Yeah.
other companies, we just follow whatever FHA says the rule is, we just follow that rule. We don't have any
for
additional
sure.
stuff. So a lot of times you'll see it with these bigger banks because they service the majority of their loans. So it's like
Yeah.
a safety net for them to say, all right, if we're keeping this
If
loan
we're keeping
forever,
this, yeah, for sure.
we want to make sure that it's safe. Whereas other
For sure.
companies that don't service, or maybe they don't service a lot of them, they're selling them. So for them, it's like, we're doing it and it's off our books.
Yeah.
And now whatever happens, happens. But at this point, we're just moving along. So you see that a little bit more with the big banks because they do service it. They're built to be this big machine that can have banking and mortgage and all this stuff, and they service it and everything. And it's like, they're protecting their asset, but it can also be a little more restricting on stuff because they're like, well, we don't want to have this person, we don't want to have this riskier loan sitting on our books and then they default. And then now we're better off just saying we won't do it and let somebody else deal with it.
And on that note, like what you were just saying is big banks, the priority with big banks may not be mortgages. Like
exactly.
So they don't, you might have a loan officer that's super frustrated because they're like, why can't we get this person the funding? They fall they fall in the perfect category in the big banks. Like mortgages isn't our thing and we don't really care, to make you happy. So there's a bunch of factors in that. I would say like my final advice for real estate agents on that is there is no bad company to work for. I don't think it really, like, I can sell my story of I started at boutique brokerages and moved my way up only for the fact of resources. I was like, I hit a plateau of where I could go with what I knew with a boutique brokerage. And I was like, I just need someone to help me take it to that next level. And it was not a knock on a boutique brokerage. It was just like, I personally wanted to grow further. Boutique brokerages are great. And they offer a lot of more intimate training, more care for you as the agent. In my opinion, it's more, they know you. Like you're not just, one of thousands upon thousands of agents. So, I would say really there is no right or wrong, and there's no right or wrong all the time. I would say hesitate to move all the time. Like really look at what you want to do in the future. Look at what you want, what type of learning you like, and what type of style you like to do in your learning and in the technology that you need, and then go from there and don't jump around because it just doesn't, it's not a good look. It hurts your marketing. It hurts your, pocketbook because your marketing has to change all the time, but it just isn't a good look. So I would say find someone, these large companies to me are kind of the future of that. If you want to grow within this industry, in the real estate industry, the larger companies are going to do that. If you like to say, hey, I'm part-time, I want to do it, 2 or 3 homes a year, then maybe the boutique brokerage is for you. But if you want to grow, like business-wise grow, I think these large companies are doing it, and they just continue to improve on that, in my personal opinion. But on the lending side, what would you say to a lender that's kind of looking and what they, what would you give advice to?
I mean, it's kind of similar to what you said, I think, because when you look at the big bank side of it, that I think what your target audience is, your target clientele, a big bank might have that. Like, say you wanted to do construction loans, you wanted to work with builders, and that was your thing. And this bank here offers a really good construction loan. You might be better off going there. And maybe they have more restrictions on other loans, but if you're like, hey, this is my focus, this is what I do, that might be the best fit for you, rather than going to a different place that has more flexibility, but maybe their construction loan's not that great. So then you're kind of compromising a little bit of what you want. So I think a lot of it really does come down to personal preference. What kind of loans do you find yourself in? What are those situations? Because if you're looking at something that's a little more niche and you're trying to target that audience, you want to make sure that that place has that for you.
Yeah.
I think most of the time with the lending side, unless you go to some, I don't know, like maybe a credit union is definitely going to be more restrictive. They're going to have other resources that maybe we don't have, but they're also not going to have a lot of other stuff. They might have like 20% down conventional, really, really good deals.
Yeah.
But some of them don't even offer FHA loans.
Okay.
Some of them don't offer any type of, different financing other than conventional and FHA. So a little more restrictive, but if you're finding yourself in a position where my clientele is this, and this fits my bucket the best, like that's probably what you should do if you feel like you need to change. But I think a lot of it, to me, is really the support, less of the loan programs that are available, and like, because that it can and will change. Like, you never know if you're working with that builder and something happens and now you're no longer working with that builder. Well, shoot, now I'm at this place that I was here for just builder stuff, and now I can't get any more builder loans. I think it's really the support on the back end. So like your underwriting support, your processing support, your team that's behind you that can help you when you do run into some of these issues and roadblocks and stuff, that you're not just on an island going, all right, how can we fix this? And nobody's willing to help you. Because that's when it really starts to, I think that's when you really start to feel like this is the right fit for me, is when there's challenges that come up and you feel a team of people supporting you and figuring it out and helping you get to that point, rather than just being on an island. Because I don't think in the mortgage side, real estate, I don't know how much you lean on your managing broker or support people, but I know on the mortgage side, you could be in the business for 50 years and you still run into an issue, and you still are going to need that support and that team and those people there to say, hey, why are we viewing it this way? Let's dive into this. Here's my resources. Let's figure this out. Whereas, you're going to be doing that as a new person, but it just never seems to go away. And I don't know how much that varies or changes with the real estate side, like, various laws or tweaks where you're kind of like, well, shoot, I don't know. I need to reach out to my managing broker. But having that support is huge, because if you try to get the support and it's not there, you're like, well, why am I here? I'm kind of just on an island right now. I'm not getting any help. Yeah, the marketing stuff is cool, but if I can't get loans done, if I can't sell the house because I don't have the support from the back end, what good is it? So
for sure,
I lean towards that more and more.
Yeah, I agree. I think every person's different, but I think, you just have to kind of, I kind of willy-nilly'd it in the beginning of just like, okay, my buddy was running this brokerage and it was cool, and whatever, I'll do it. And I think looking back, and I wouldn't have changed anything, but just really focus on, kind of what your clientele is, who you want to serve. And in the real estate world, I think, the name really doesn't matter. It's more what resources you have to build your own brand. And you want to, I personally think you want to build your own brand. You don't want to build it for some other company. So get with a company that allows you to have that flexibility within the law that allows you to kind of market yourself versus them. So, really quickly, let's go over just really quickly. We've had some first-time home buyers coming into the market, and so I just wanted to kind of reiterate a lot of things have changed. If you first-time home buyers are watching at this point, which you're like, I'm not a real estate agent and not a lender, so I don't care. But hopefully you're still watching. But a lot of things have changed. The NAR lawsuit has happened years ago, but if you're new coming in, there's a new lawsuit. You're going to have to sign a formal document with your real estate agent that's going to say that you're going to pay them a certain compensation if they charge a compensation, which 99.9% of agents will charge you for their work. But find an agent, that explains that contract to you, can walk you through it, and how they navigate that commission. Because what we have done as a company is kind of incorporated into an offer, and we're pretty successful with that. And so the buyer doesn't have to pay. So a lot of law changes have been going on. And so if you are a first-time home buyer on the real estate side of things, not necessarily the lending, but just be prepared that you can't just call a lender, walk into a house and say, okay, like they're going to have some paperwork associated with it. So anything anything you suggest for a new first-time home buyer besides get pre-approved? That's the first step in
Yes,
life of real estate.
that it is. Yeah, I mean, a lot of it just comes down to walking through what I think we all feel are the very basics of things. So just numbers, down payment assistance options, closing costs.
Yeah,
Do
especially for
you have
first-time
to
home
pay
buyers.
them? Yeah, especially for first-time home buyers. Do you have to pay them? When are they paid? What is earnest money? How does earnest money work? Do I get it back? You know, a lot of those just kind of basic things that we're so used to.
Yeah.
Um, they're big questions that people have because it's like there's so many different terms and numbers and things being thrown around. I noticed that there's some people that don't want to feel dumb, so they
Yeah.
don't want to ask the question.
For
But
sure.
then they
That's
get to a
exactly.
point where
That's a
they're
great
like,
point.
yeah, I feel I'm frustrated because I don't know a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
But so for me, I try to always remind myself of what it was like learning the
Oh, yeah.
business in the very beginning and going, okay. And I'll tell them too, like, stop me if you know all this stuff, but here's
Yeah.
what some of this stuff means. Here's what any of this stuff is. So I think a lot of it is just having those conversations. I always encourage people to, even if you're not ready, even if you think you're not going to buy for 5 years or 2 years or whatever that looks like, have that conversation because
Yeah.
I think all of us we want to be able to help. We want to be able to educate. We want to give you correct information as opposed to, not to say that there's stuff online that shouldn't be trusted, but I think you can get a different answer for the question.
Absolutely.
And you're like, wait, okay, this one was posted 3
That
years
last
ago. This one
video
was
said
posted.
this. Yeah.
Yeah,
for
like
sure.
it's confusing. I don't understand
sure.
it. So getting all that information up front before maybe even you're ready, just to kind of start to check some of those things off your list of, all right, what does our credit need to look like? What is my income? I have all these
For sure.
student loans. What do I do with them? They're deferred. Can I, and there's like every person's situation is so
For sure.
different. So I think just having a good conversation with a loan officer, I'm here if you need me. But just having that conversation, ask those questions, use the internet as much as you want, but I'd say rely on a real person who does it.
Yeah, for sure.
Because as we've talked about with AI and the internet and everything, sometimes the sources that are used or the context in which it is used is
not be
not
as accurate.
accurate to the real
Yeah.
thing. So, and
For
I
sure.
find that like sometimes rather than going through the guidelines of everything when I have a question, I will Google it because now you've got Gemini that pulls that up and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And there's times where I pull stuff up and I'm like, that doesn't seem right. And the
That's not
source
right. Yeah.
is not a guideline. The source is some other person's website.
Website.
That's not even really, it took like a clip of it. So it looks
For
like it's
sure.
applicable to your question, but then you dive into it and I'm like, that's why I use it as a kind of like quick little reference point.
Yeah.
And then I dive into the real guidelines of stuff.
For sure.
So,
yeah, I think like overall, I guess like the theme of what you just said is like find someone that you feel comfortable talking to and sounding dumb in front of, if that makes sense.
Yes, exactly.
Like, because it is like there are personality differences. And as much as you and I like to think that we get along with everyone and everyone would love us, it may not work. So, your buddy that refers you to someone, don't just accept that is the person that you need to be with. It's really talk to agents, talk to lenders, and find out not only what programs they have, but is this someone that I can make the biggest purchase of my life with? It's not a marriage, but it's like you want someone you feel comfortable texting and saying, hey, I don't have a clue about this, or what does this even mean? What does, earnest money mean? What is, so you really want someone, obviously that knows what they're doing, but also can communicate with you in a way that, makes you feel like this purchase is okay to happen or not okay to happen. So,
yeah.
And Cody and I are the best at what we do, but we obviously, some people don't agree with that. So, and that's fine.
That's wrong. Fine. Yep.
But so if you do have any questions about real estate, or you just want to tap into Cody or me and just find out any questions you have, it's no commitment to us. We are happy to help, even if it doesn't work out with us individually. We're happy to help in the real estate world because it's confusing, and there's a lot of great people out there that work in this industry, and there's a lot of terrible people that work in this industry. So, want you to find the best ones, no matter if it's us or not. So.
Yeah, and sometimes, like you said, that's the case where the questions, the plan, the project, whatever it is like, hey, I think you're going to be actually best served to go talk to this person.
Yeah.
Because, I
They
don't
just
know
have
that we
this
can do
product
what
or
you're
they have
looking
this.
for,
Yeah,
but
yeah, for sure.
this person might be able to. So maybe start there and take a look at it. And I think
For
we
sure.
all want to earn everybody's business, but we also realize too that we can't.
Yeah,
There's other people in other places that might do that better, and that's our goal, is to get you. If we can do it the best, then we're going to do it. If we can't, then we're going to refer you to somebody else that can give you the service and the product and whatever it is that you need. So
absolutely. Okie doke, my bloke. And if you haven't already, subscribe and like Venture with Joe and Cody. Follow us on our social media, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all the stuff. Cody is
just Google us.
Just Google us. Yeah, that's true. They might be able to. I haven't Googled us in a while.
I need to Google us.
Yeah.
Maybe don't Google us yet. Let me Google us first.
Let us change the algorithms first. But,
yeah, exactly.
Okay, man. Well, it was good talking to you. And until next week, we'll see you later.
Sounds good.
Okay, bye.